Greetings, Earth people and others alike, and welcome to Bridging the Gap. I'm Ian Hansen. This is intuitive medium and spiritual advisor Brenda Burgett. Brenda, on this our 25th and final episode of Bridging the Gap for the year 2012. We're going to be chatting about meditation, one that you had specifically recently that had to do a little bit with what we talked about last time here on the program, which if you're seeing now, of course, you know we're all still here. And everything's good, but everything is changing still.
Right. And I think maybe we're going to be I'm not going to be so worried about what people are going to think from now on.
Good.
That's my promise.
I was never worried about that from the start.
No, he never was, but I still had my heels dug in, thinking that...
No, they were drugged in, too.
They were drugged in.
Yeah.
Thinking that maybe, we better be a little conservative. I say let's go for it in 2013.
It is the internet. I don't know if you've seen what else is out there, but this would be the realm in which we'd want to let it all hang out if we can.
Oh,
and there are certain quarters of it that they absolutely do.
We're not there.
We're never going to go there if I'm thinking of the there she's thinking of, and after all, I think we're both thinking of the same thing. I know she's thinking of what I'm thinking she's thinking, that's for sure, because she's the psychic, and I'm still kind of learning. So.
I don't go there.
All right, you did have a really cool meditation experience recently that you wanted to share, and we didn't get to any questions from last time, and I promise that we'll get to all three of the ones we have holding over from episode 24. Thank you, Kiefer Sutherland, by the way. So.
We were talking about, you mentioned grays, and we mentioned several things about meditations and your opinion of what a gray was.
The earth changes and things that are coming about. Yeah, grays are a fascinating subject for me. Yes. They always have been.
And they have been for me as well. My grandson has grown up being terrified of grays, and that's a whole different thing. But anyway, I decided that because of the energy going on and my having a really hard time because of things that are going on maybe now in my life, but there's always things going on, having a hard time calming down enough to meditate. So I am using a meditation tape that Wayne Dyer put together, and it's based on some noise, sounds with the tuning fork and whatever, and he got it from James Timon, I think his name is. So anyway, I've been listening to this, and it's so powerful. And my mind does a little tap dancing thing, and what I should be doing and not doing. I allowed this CD to really get inside me. And I was on this fantasy creature that's in all my CDs that picks you up and takes you to another space.
It's your meditation CDs that you have written and composed. I've helped with a few of them actually myself. So when she says her meditation, she means literally ones that have come from within you.
Yes.
That you've developed.
I think Source used me for them. And we will have them available soon. I'm
so mad at Source for using me like it has. He's just a big user. That's what Source is. Just using us all as conduits to do its stuff.
Yeah, well.
Use away, Source.
So anyway, I am sitting in my old chair with a couple of dogs on my lap, which is the way I calm down, wrapped in a blanket, and these things start happening, and I get squished up by this what looks to be a dinosaur but probably isn't. The flies takes me to this beautiful area, and the colors are so intense that they almost hurt your eyes. And I look ahead, and there is an indentation in the earth, but this is really going to sound strange. I'm going to tell it anyway. The creature lets me down, and I get on this path. I'm deathly afraid of heights, and this is a sharp line with a long fall, and I have no fear at all. And I look ahead of me, and there's this little white-haired guy who is dressed in this loincloth with nothing on top, and just enough skin to cover the bones. just enough. So he's not emaciated and he's not scary hungry looking. And he has this beautiful long white hair and the most gorgeous face. And he looks at me like and motions me to come on. And I'm following down this path and I see ahead of me this indentation in the earth. And it is full of crystal. Like the Crystal Palace, if anybody knows anything about the Crystal Palace, go online and ask some questions.
Or the Crystal Cave?
Crystal Cave, but this was palace.
This was a palatial thing. So.
It was.
Okay.
And in my CDs, it's always been above ground and beautiful. This was in the ground.
So this was subterranean then?
It was. And I have all these things going on. I'm afraid of heights. And I am very claustrophobic about being underground.
Okay.
And so I'm being asked in a matter of seconds to do both. And this guy, I asked him what his name was, and he said, call me Micah. Micah.
For a second I thought, surely we've pegged James Brolin. His acting career is alive and well. He's Brenda's guide into this thing. This is who you described it. So. Sorry, James, we love you. So.
Yes, but I'm walking down into this, and he is motioning for me to come, and he's not speaking at all, but I'm walking down, and I'm seeing these beautiful, beautiful crystals with all the colors and like lit from underneath and going into different caverns. And this was in the second meditation that I went that far again, almost exactly the same way. And then all of a sudden a friend of mine, who will not name, appears toward me and smiles and looks at me like, I'm here, and she was surprised to be here. And I was a little surprised to see her. But she motions on, and we're going down into these rooms. And all of a sudden, I look at this lady, and she is a gray.
She revealed, didn't she ask you if you wanted to see her?
It was like, she looked at me like, are you ready for this, and can you accept it? And then she became a gray.
And how did that make you feel? I've always wanted to say that to someone without a degree hanging on the wall behind me. Take that.
Yeah.
Licensed psychologists everywhere.
Surprised,
how did that make you feel?
Surprised, but not really, because I've always suspected or had something rolling around inside me that said this person is more than you can see. You and I've talked about that.
Oh, yes.
So I follow her, and this grace remains in this gray body, walking down through, and I'm feeling very safe and protected with this creature. And it goes on and on and on, which I'm not going to really go into now. But as we're coming back out, this person becomes my friend again.
The form of your friend.
The form of my
Did you
friend.
feel the same connectivity to this
Same.
person when they turned into the gray?
Exactly the same.
Okay, so they were your friend all the way through.
Very loving, very
speaking.
peaceful, and like I was being shown a huge, huge secret and a gift.
Well,
I am very strange in lots of ways, but you know me well enough by now to know that I would not tell something like that unless it was exactly the way I saw it.
I know, I think I heard about it
I
right
couldn't
away.
wait to tell.
Because it was a really powerful experience for you.
Huge.
Brenda, a lot of people who report to have been abducted or encountered these creatures will come back and say that even though they were scared, to no get out as far as the fact that they were in their presence, they were foreign, obviously, to them. Quite foreign, actually. We see your visas. And MasterCards, too. There was a sense of overwhelming, okay, I guess, to put it in a less eloquent way. That when asking you, what do you want from me, what are you doing, the message wasn't resounded orally, but it was telepathically or in some way just known to them upon asking that we were not here to harm you, we absolutely have your best interest in mind, you wouldn't understand what it is that we're doing, just know that, it's not a big deal. And now, again, with any malevolence that might be in mind. That's exactly what someone would say that had your worst intentions in mind if they were very good at deceit. So there are those that say too, well, these creatures are up to no good and they're just that good at getting us to buy it. So if you're on that side of the camp, that's where you're going to be. But there's also this other side where there's this knowledge, it seems like, that's being passed down. There's also a belief that there could be many different factions of these particular beings, whether they're extraterrestrial, whether they're interdimensional, whatever they might be. And, you know, this is the kind of stuff that I like to get my hands dirty with and dig around with, because that really does address the very first question, I think, Brenda, that we talk about on Bridging the Gap. And we're going even deeper than this, but this is one that needs to be touched on, I think, perhaps even in advance of the other, which is, where do we come from? What are we? And the sense that we could have been seeded from another race, again, whether they're from a different dimension, galaxy, world, whatever, is becoming more and more widely accepted in people's minds. That shows me an opening to be able to know maybe a little bit more about what is true.
I have not been really open to a lot of this. You know I haven't. I love listening to you talk. And I have felt recently that end of the year, it is 2012, I saw myself with my heels dug in. Okay, I will use this psychic gift, I will use my healing gifts, and I will do what I need to do, but there are some limits. And you've heard me say that. And to have all this transpire, and I felt so good about it and so peaceful about it. And I did talk to my friend. I couldn't wait to talk to her. I called and said, I have got to ask you some things and tell you some things. So when I got there, I said, you know, I don't want to offend you, and you may or may not even feel this is real, but I have to ask you. And this person channels, which is another thing that I'm a trance medium and I do some channeling, but I don't channel 100%. A lot of it is just
It's a portion of your gift that might be developing. I know.
It definitely is, whether I like it or not.
Whether, yeah, it's one of the, it's like your eye teeth. You're getting them whether you like it or not.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm talking with her, and I said, I told her the story I just told, and her channeling voice comes in and says, "So yes, and you accept this, right? This is okay with you. This is okay with you." And I said, yes. And then the channeling stopped. This person looked at me like they had not said anything at all. And we let it go, kind of, but then we'll talk about it more later. I'm not quite ready, and this person isn't quite ready, but who knows? We've got a new year coming here. We've got all kinds of wonderful things happening.
Yeah.
And the earth and the world may seem like it's absolutely falling apart. Maybe it has to shake loose a little before it can resettle and form what it really is, our next step and our next move.
Yeah. I just felt a light tremor, actually. No, I'm serious, I did. I think we just had a little light tremor ripple through. So
we feel this a lot in this up here.
Yeah, well, we're in a faulty area, I guess you could say.
Yeah, so. I hear motors at night, and we do feel things.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I know this was a moving experience for you, and it's amazing if you talk to people, Brenda. And this is the thing, and we touched on this. We always seem to. We did this last episode. We've done this a lot. How mainstream this seems to be, going. The thoughts about all the things that we talk about on Bridging the Gap, and I really don't know that I want it to go mainstream. I'd like to see it go in its own stream that would be widespread, but not mainstream because I really don't want it to be Disneyfied, and I really don't want them to make a ride out of it.
I don't think we have any choice. I think it's going to go the direction it's supposed to go.
I'm sure that it will.
And I like being that weird lady who does all the woogie-woogie, and pretty soon I'm just going to be one of the people who are using their gifts for mankind, using their gifts for their families, using their gifts to get where they're going.
Well, it seems like the more and more I talk to people, and really I don't have any reservations about doing this, about being who I am. you're not going to be able to hide from what you are forever, so you may as well just be open about it. I think you can only be so open because there is tact in our world. After all, you don't want to march right into the job interview and say, hey, by the way, I was just having some lunch with a couple of friends of mine, Bonnie and Phil, a couple of gray aliens. You may have heard of these people. Yeah, really big eyes. They eat a lot of lunch. Always run my tab up. Anyway, they said I should take this job because you're a real great guy. Yeah, you might want to stay away from that because you don't want to reveal too much all at the same time. But I am amazed, Brenda, when I talk to people that seem like they would just be kind of logs when it comes to this particular subject matter, not really interested in anything spiritual, not really interested in parallel dimensions, not really interested in any unanswerable questions, just sort of getting up in the morning, having their Quaker Oats, going about their day, getting their tax return, spending it at Walmart, and they're done. They're the ones coming alive when they say, how come you don't do the radio show with Brenda anymore? Or, I've seen you on Bridging the Gap on your webcasts on TV, and I had this happen to me too, and you were talking about something that really hit home with me. Heard it over and over and over again, so it is amazing how these things all touch people.
Everybody seems to have a story.
Yeah.
And they want to share it, and they want to talk about it. I do a lot of work with animals. I love animals. I recently had the opportunity to work with some people who really should not believe in this, but they do. And privacy is always a really important thing, but we have all kinds of people, all different professions. I don't think I've met too many people at all in the last few years that just look at me and say, you're crazy, this isn't true. I went to a Christmas party last week and was trying to be a human being without things. And the guy sitting next to me, hey, you're that psychic woman.
Hey.
I know you. I've heard about you. And I'm going, tonight I'm just at a party.
I always wanted to have my palm tattooed. I don't have any tattoos. I never will. But I always wanted to get it temporarily tattooed so you can throw it in front of me and say, hey, read my palm. Make sure it's right side up for them, because otherwise you have to do this and it hurts a lot. You can go to the doctor. It's an old joke.
It's a very
wow, this room is dead on episode 25 of Bridging the Gap. Good grief. Fan myself. David Icke, come on the show. I want to talk to you, man. I think you have some interesting stuff going on. Although, what's with all the conspiracies? I love the heart of the matter, literally, but yeah.
We get
some cool people out there with some neat ideas.
Stop arguing so much and trying to prove a point and see the gentle side of things and see where that takes you, and it's amazing.
Yeah, as much as I hate to admit it some days, I do think that love does conquer all at the end of it, because when you add up all of these equations and you toss in, well, now, what if we hit them with the tactical nukes? Well, then here's all the things that happen. Well, what if we send in the ground assault? Well, here's all the things that happen. You apply this to your daily life. Well, what if I just get out of my car at the light and just cold cock the SOB? That'll do it. That'll show him not to do that to me in traffic. What if I just go home and take a flamethrower to the Christmas tree and say, it's canceled this year. I didn't make a Christmas bonus because that dirty SOB at the office, this, that. And when you go ahead and stuff love in there at the top of every single one of those, no matter how big, small, universal, all-encompassing, it always works. So, gosh darn it, love. It seems to beat it all.
It's really disgusting. Yeah, I am probably one of the world's best mad people.
You do have a good...
I do a good anger, and I do a really good vengeance is mine, saith Brenda. And the more...
She actually hired James Earl Jones to say it for her once.
Yes,
she wasn't allowed to repeat it, though, because that would have cost extra. So.
And I still will head into one of those things, but there's the beauty of all this is I've done this so much now that it's like, just wait a minute, just stop and breathe, and maybe come at this from a little different angle and know that this isn't your job. This is not what you're here for. You know, if you can't do this in a quiet voice, and you can't do this because you really genuinely care, then maybe you ought to shut the hell up. My guides talk to me like that. They know they can.
Oh, yeah, you should hear my guides. They curse like sailors. Well, you have heard my guides, I guess, so you know all about what they can say. But All right, Brenda, fascinating stuff. Meditation is something we'll get into a little bit more full on, I suppose, ways that it can be accomplished. It's been even difficult for someone like yourself to achieve
Extremely difficult.
Recently because of, again, personal strife, earth changes, all these things that we have to be ready for, and it is important to get quiet, and I know you love this word, centered, grounded. Anything else we want to say? Ooh. We have to oil these chairs for the new year.
Okay,
I cost a can of WD-40 a year. I'm like an R2 unit. I have to be, whatever I sit on for programming purposes has to be lubed up. Jason, no laughing behind the camera. Oh, yeah, there he goes. It's over. There he goes. And now it's squeaking even worse. So maybe the chair is talking to us. It's trying to say something. So.
Just take him now.
Oh, that'd be wonderful. Grace, here I am.
No, don't take him now. Make him stay here with us.
No. You will go to the DMV tomorrow. No! Brenda, we've had a few folks communicating with us otherwise, i.e. through the interweb, our website, bridgingthegapwithbrenda.com /bridgingthegapontv.com. So we'd love for you to address some answers to these questions that folks have been having for you.
Let's see what they say. Let's
Okay.
see what they have to say.
We did not to get any on episode 24, so we have to get to some on episode 25. Again, you can get these to Brenda. Send us an email specifically to her, or you can email me. I will always be happy to give you my impressions, too, of anything from motor oil to canned chicken soup and on up from there. Otherwise, just go to the website and email Brenda. Brenda, you ready for the first question?
I am.
Okay. I'll try to control this tick that I'm having all of a sudden. It's gone. This comes into us from Sue, and Sue says, why do bad things happen, and how can there be a God or source that will allow little children to be killed? Referencing, obviously, the incident that now will have taken place a few weeks ago by the time you see this in Connecticut, of course. And what do you think happens to the horrible person who shot them? It's a big question.
It's a big question, and I'm probably not totally the person to answer, but let's see what's said. The thing that keeps coming through is the children they're safe. They're where they can't be hurt any longer. The incredible sadness is just beyond my imagination. I've lost a child. We lost a stepdaughter, and people are yelling, get rid of guns, get rid of assault rifles, and we're not going to debate that, but let's get rid of the cars that aren't well taken care of so that young people don't drive junkers and get killed. Let's take care of people who have parents that are not raising in the right way. There's so much to be done. Why do things happen like this? I don't. I question myself. But what comes out of it is love. There is so much outpouring. These people are so surrounded with energy and love from the world, not just the United States. The children are gone. They're here and they're gone. They're still hanging out a little bit to make sure parents are okay. But what about this horrible person that killed him?
And those are Sue's words, not yours.
Not my words. This was this young man's contract. I believe that. And why did his mother take him to a shooting range? Why? We don't know that, other than she was trying to connect with him, trying to find something that worked for him, and that was what worked. She had every intention of hoping to open him up and get things for him that would help him live in the world. The fact that it was probably not something that should have happened, it happened anyway. Is he horrible? I would not tell these parents that this young man was not horrible. I would never say that to him. But he was a damaged person. He came here damaged. And he left damaged. And we don't really ever know what's going on, except that he was not a horrible person. He was a sick person. I've seeing so much good coming from this. How horrible that it had to be such a horrific thing, and so many young people dying, so many people dying. But it's part of the shift too, and there will be some wonderful big changes done because of this.
Well, I suppose, Brenda, what I think about in sort of contrast to this, or I guess in likeness to this incident, is if you've ever seen when the families, survivors of victims of a serial killer or any type of murder or murderer are faced in the courtroom, the reactions of the families, and sometimes it could be based on how much time has expired since that loved one was killed or was discovered to have been murdered after they went missing or some such thing. But the reactions are always varied, Brenda. And I think you're probably going to see that in this case. There are people who talk about even a genocidal megalomaniac like Adolf Hitler to this day, and this has been many years ago now, survivors of Holocaust families, Holocaust victims, who will say very universally that there's no evil in the world. We don't believe that. We don't believe in a God that would produce something like that, but this is most certainly evil. No, it's not. It's just the way that it is. You've heard people say that. You also have the other side of the equation where people say, yes, I hope there's a special place in hell carved out for them, and they're going to suffer all the horrible things I have to go through missing my loved one. In this case, missing my child. So the range is incredible as far as where are you at as far as when something like this happens, something so tragic, something so unthinkable, in its aftermath, where do you stand as far as that's concerned? And I don't think there is a right or a wrong answer, certainly, but I think it's fascinating for us to step back and figure out where we are and why we might be there, and how might it help us to be perhaps a little more on one side or the other. I don't know.
I don't know how people can imagine surviving going through this, but they do. My husband lost his 19-year-old daughter in a car crash, and he still says, and it's been 30 years, I think, that was the worst thing that ever happened to him in his life, was losing his child. I don't understand. I don't understand why it happens. I just know that there's always a reason for it, and we may not know that reason.
No, it's an age-old question. Why do bad things happen to good people or to people at all? And I know when I was in the talk show business on television regionally, I had a pastor on who I used to love conversing with because he was such an amazing theologian. Even though he had chosen his religious pathway specifically, he still was such a great thinker. And I remember, I'll never forget when he said to me, he said, I get asked all the time, why do bad things happen to good people? And he says, I think what people really want to know is, why does so much good seem to happen to all these bad people? And I thought that was a really interesting spin on something that has, again, long been asked. So Brenda is only one person. She's only one conduit. This is a large and complex incident, I guess you could say. I mean, it's not something you're going to be able to answer in one fell swoop.
No, and I think that if, as a psychic medium, when I talk to people, there are different answers for almost every person that has a loss. And it goes to the center of who they are, and Source God will always say something that they need to hear.
And this is me expanding on your gift, but this might bring it into a better perspective for those of you who view the program, wonder about Brenda and what it is that she does. Brenda, if one of the surviving mothers, fathers, family members of one of these children was to find their way to you, more than likely the question would be about their child who has passed. Where are they? Are they okay? And this is a way for you to bring comfort, and in some cases, if it's desired, closure to an incident individually for people like this. It's a very personal thing, what you do. Perhaps other psychics historically, maybe others that are to come in our world, will talk about things on a broader perspective. But for you, I know it's a very one-on-one type of a deal a lot of the times.
It definitely is, and for me to make a big, broad statement about something that covers everything, you probably won't hear me do that.
But we're still going to ask you.
You can ask all you want.
Because I do it all the time. And I want to know about some of these big things, and Brenda often says, not going to go there, but we try. So. All right, well, again, we do send all the best energies to everybody, I guess, that's suffering in our world on what's close to New Year's Eve now in 2012, including the survivors of what happened in Connecticut. Again, it'll be a few weeks back. Now that you are watching this edition of the program, this question filed into us a couple of weeks before you're going to see this, but it's right in the aftermath of it, and I think people are still reeling, asking a lot of these questions. My goodness, why? And what can I do just as a stranger living all the way on the other coastline or somewhere else in the world? You can send positive energy. You can send light.
Send them love. Just send them love.
Yeah.
You know, and it absolutely works. It's just a definite thing. We've worked on this. I have people all the time, every week for sure, calling and saying, send me energy. Or they'll call and say, were you sending me energy? Because they physically feel it. Just did a thing in New Jersey, just did a healing in Portland. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it really is. Shuffy, I know we have to get going. One more question, though, because we're behind on these. Is that all right?
Okay.
He gave me one thumbs up. Usually when I get two, it's the full-on, hey, go for it, Grit.
And he's like, I need to go home.
Yeah, he's giving us the I need to go home look, but he can go home in a minute. Right now we have one more question.
Okay.
I want to get to it because we have three here, and it sounds like Tom needs your help. Brenda, you ready for his question?
I'm ready.
Tom asks, I've been married for the 30 years now to the same woman. That's a statement from him, not his question. That's on the way. He says, I've been more or less faithful to her. Okay, I don't know what that means. That's for Brenda to sort out potentially. That is another question I have. Lately, I find myself attracted to my wife's best friend. I think she feels the same way about me. I'm very worried that my wife will sense something is up. I don't plan on doing anything about this. I know nothing is worth giving up what my wife and I have together. Can you help me?
What a wonderfully honest individual.
It is.
It's just amazing to me that somebody would say that. Of course, her name has been changed, and we'll never put him in front of the camera, but very common, very, very common, very an attraction that you feel for someone else based on either energy or in fact just things in common, or maybe things aren't exactly good at home or whatever, but this man says he's worried that his wife will find out. His wife already knows. Get over it. She already knows.
She already knows.
Of course, a woman never is fooled.
Never question a woman's intuition.
Never, never, never fooled. And what I'm seeing on this is the best friend has probably more ulterior motives than you think. And they're saying, get yourself out of the situation by not being in that presence. This isn't as benign as you think it might be. She does have a plan, so if you want to keep everything intact and you've admitted what's going on, you're human, life's good, whatever, run like hell.
Okay. All right, I think that's a pretty clear message, Tommy boy. Hopefully it resounded loud and clear with you.
This lady does. I'm seeing her very definitely having a plan. So unless you want your life to blow up in your face, then excuse yourself from any situation.
You know the thing about love triangles too? Triangles are pointy and they hurt. You can get stabbed with any side of them and it's still the same thing. So you might want to think about that the next time. So, and the isosceles love triangle? Oh boy, don't even get me started on that one. That's geometric nightmare in bed, let me tell you. So. Just ask the Romans, they know all about it. So, all right, Brenda, another question was on that litany, but we'll have to get to it next time. For our first episode of 2013, it's been fun throughout 2012. I think the glue is held together. We're going to make it for another year here.
I think we're going to make it, and I think we better open up the gates and let it come, instead of me digging my surreals in.
Was it wrong for me to have broadcast at
Yes.
high volume on midnight after 2012 solstice on the 22nd ran out? The theme from the Mary Tyler Moore Show, this time we'll make it after all to the entire block and maybe beyond.
Yes, it was very wrong. It was very wrong, and the roads are slippery. You can't be throwing your hat up on a
I'm
hill.
sorry.
You know that. I told you.
We had several Ted Night ghost sightings, though, that night. Oh. Yeah, I've been saving that one up for you all year. So,
I'm glad.
Brenda, it's been fun. 25 episodes down, and I guess we start back from zero in a manner of speaking again come the new year. Merry New Year to all of you, and to all a good night. This has been Brenda Burgett, intuitive medium spiritual advisor, and I'm Ian Hansen. Brenda, before we sign off, for one last time for 2012, any advice for the new year?
Breathe. Get excited.
I like
It's
it.
all good.
Breathe, get excited, it's all good. Time to get out the party noisemaker thing. You like the things that go like this, or the
No, I don't.
those things? Okay. I don't have anything for you for the new year. Just for God's sake, think before you procreate. That'd be me from you. So, Brenda, thanks a lot as always. We'll see you on the next edition of Bridging the Gap.
You will.
As we will you too. Again, this has been Brenda Burgett, Ian Hansen. Online, remember, bridgingthegapwithbrenda.com, bridgingthegap.tv.com, and of course our YouTube site as well. Till next time, enjoy your existence. We'll talk to you soon.